Oh God. What are we talking about today? Mopeds. Mopeds? It's a cross between a bicycle and a motorcycle. What is it? Let's see. Under 50 cc's, which probably means nothing to a lot of people. It's just very tiny motor. Scooters and motorcycles will typically start at, I guess it's anything above 50. They do have pedals, but the pedals are really just to start the bike. They're not really to pedal on because the gearing is so low. It's really just, here's a torquey gear to start the motor because there's no battery usually, or editor Julian here, or more importantly, a starter. So I bought a vintage moped and took it home and fixed it up to make it run more gooder, better, make it work, run, drive. It's made in Czechoslovakia. It's a 1979 Jawa 50, which has a model number maybe like 201.300, something like that. Fun fact, Czechoslovakia is not a thing anymore. They split into the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And I'm not just looking at the wiki right now. I super am. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. Supposedly ran when parked, which obviously at some point it ran until you parked it, which really means it ran until it didn't. Then you parked it, and then 3 years later you decided to sell it. Or the story is, just clean the carburetor, it'll be fine. And it's always coming from people with the broken down motorcycles or lawnmowers or weed eaters. They're the experts, obviously. Now, to be fair, the carburetor is typically what is wrong. That's more along the lines of a broken clock is right twice a day versus you actually know what's actually happening. First thing I wanted to do was to get the engine to start to make sure that I wasn't wasting my time once I got it home. Also, you might be wondering why I took the fuel tank off. Very easy, full of rust. I need a way to get fuel in because the fuel tank is not on. So we're gonna try this. So using an empty plastic bottle as a makeshift fuel tank to test the moped, not strictly the safest thing in the world to do. Don't try this at home. Don't do the thing that I just did on the YouTubes. Don't do it. We're gonna try it anyway. Okay, great. We know that it runs. Amazing. Step one taken care of. I don't know how much anyone ever wants to see of another person like cleaning out a fuel tank. I did all the things like soak it in mineral spirits, using Evaporust, putting a bunch of bolts in there, shaking it up. I even cleaned the filter on the fuel shutoff and made sure the passageways were not blocked there too. And yes, I did the carburetor too. I don't think I have any video of it though, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Not that that means anything. What else? 2 chains. Okay, there are 2 chains on this moped. One is a drive chain and the other is the starter chain? It's the chain that's connected to the pedals. And there's a different chain connected to the motor itself, or the engine itself that drives the engine. And they both have to work together in order to, one, start the moped, and then the other one takes over as you're driving. So I took the chains off, cleaned them up in a bath of brake cleaner, and then put them right back on. Because in this economy, they're going back on. Then there's the obligatory power washing scene. Gotta have one of those in the video, right? What step am I on? Does it matter anymore? Are we keeping track? Pedals were mangled, pretty mangled. Like you can see here that it's just one side's worse than the others, the pins are bent. They don't make replacements. So I ended up having to make my own. Part of that was taking off the old pins, straightening them out on a vise, and then using a die to chase the threads to make sure that the threads on the ends of the pins were correct. I kind of took some basic measurements, 3D printed them, and then slapped them on there, and you know, they weren't perfect, but they were close enough. I think there were a couple of things I kind of glossed over. There's this, I guess it's like a spark box thing, Sparky Boy box. It takes the circular motion that the engine does and turns it into the spark for the spark plug, and I guess it's 12 volts maybe. There's the lights, replacing some of the light bulbs, but that's not super exciting. Like, you don't need a video for that. Let's see, what else did I do? I did tune the carb, which mostly just involves making sure that the idle screw, which, I mean, doesn't that sound fun? The idle screw is when the engine is not doing anything, sitting there, like you want it to not stall. So there's a screw for that. There's a screw for that. All right, this is drinking games now. The screw adjusts how much fuel gets into the engine, and you don't want it to stall when it's just sitting there. So if you're at a red light, if you're at a stop sign, you don't want it to stall. You adjust the screw so that when the bike is sitting there, it is just on. And then the other end of that is that when you have full throttle, you have enough fuel for the amount of air that is getting mixed with the fuel. Because you can be too rich or too lean, aka too much fuel or too little fuel for the amount of air when that carburetor is opened up. I also forgot about the drum brakes. Drum brakes have these shoes. They kind of look like this, and then when you press the brake, the shoes press outwards against the drum so that that's what slows the wheel down, and that's what stops you. We've kind of moved away from drum brakes as like a concept. Like, they used to be in cars, on motorcycles, mopeds, never on bikes. That just wasn't a thing. I guess the other interesting thing is that the moped is two-stroke, and that means you have to mix oil with the gas and use that mix as the fuel, because otherwise you'll explode the engine. But I guess we talk about where do we go from here. Lessons learned. I didn't learn any lessons because I bought another moped and I did the thing. I will make a video about what I did to that. The issue that I have is that I don't ride it enough to keep the carburetor from like getting clogged again. So once that happens, then it just doesn't start, doesn't run. And part of the problem is that we use ethanol in our fuel systems. So ethanol is highly corrosive, especially to these older style engines. Back in the day, we didn't put ethanol in our fuel. So you can get non-ethanol fuel, but it's out of the way. It's not convenient. So in the future, converting it to electric might be the way to go. Is that going to be the next video? Probably not. I don't have to do this in chronological order. I mean, I started this video in 2021. Yeah, I don't have to do any of that. What am I doing? Am I drinking? Yeah, okay. Until the next rush job. Oh wait, this is not a rush job. This was my thing. All right. Get out of here, you kids.